Chief Investigative Reporter Lauren Trager now with the details.
Yeah, certainly this is a development that has been quite some time in the making here. The circuit attorney, first elected in 2016, re-elected in 2020, has now resigned her position, though she's made it clear that that will not be effective until June 1st. This is the culmination of a large...
Darlene Green has her name on the door. She's St. Louis's comptroller and the watchdog over how your money is being spent. But even though we've been digging into credit card purchases by city officials for weeks now, we were told again today she was unavailable to talk to you, the taxpayer, on camera. And when we spoke with the mayor, she too didn't seem to want to talk about those credit cards either.
Mayor, if I may, the comptroller has indicated there were unauthorized expenditures on the city's credit cards. Are you aware of that? Is that a concern for you?
You can talk to the comptroller about that, yes.
Some of them are city department heads, though, Mayor. Some of them, excuse me, if I may, on this one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Though vocal on other topics today, Mayor Tashara Jones would not answer any questions regarding department heads' purchases on city credit cards. Mayor, some of those expenditures were city department heads, so we just wanted to see if you were aware of that, if you discussed anything with your department heads, or if you're going to be supporting any changes to the credit card policies. First Alert 4 Investigates has been asking, where are the receipts, after we discovered charges at various retailers, restaurants, even the Lego store and the Polar Express.
Here's the issue, he says. As soon as Marshall got behind, the payment portal that he'd previously used to make his payments was shut off and late fees piled up. Instead, he was told to submit his checks directly to the law firm of Ranker, Hamilton and Fenley. He did that, but the payments never showed up on his ledger or billing statement. Claire, all really good questions that we are seeking answers to right now. Again, there's not a lot of legal precedence for this. This is really a sort of historic moment. It was less than 2 weeks ago that she said she'd be resigning June 1st. And in the meantime, the governor has been working towards an appointment for the office, someone to take over to stabilize the office. In fact, just yesterday, he announced there were 18 applicants and they were narrowing it down to 6. This news today really accelerates a timeline. Again, this is an office that requires 24-hour service, essentially. Crime does not stop in the city of St. Louis, and you need someone that will be in this office helping to run it, helping to seek warrant applications and prosecute criminals as their cases move forward. So we don't exactly know what's going to happen when she does step down today. However, I can tell you that St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney Wesley Bell is inside this courthouse right now. I did see him on the 4th floor, which is where the circuit attorney's office is. A number of his top staffers are also here as well. And we saw some of the circuit attorney's staff hand him what appeared to be like security cards or key cards to have access to the building. We have not seen Kim Gardner herself. We have learned through sources that there is some plan in motion to have Wesley Bell take over the office. Big questions, though. Is that just for the next 2 weeks? Is that until the governor can appoint someone else? And is there legal authority for the St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney to take over here? Can he hold 2 offices at the same time? Those questions remain right now. Where are they from?
Mexico.
From Mexico? Did they pass away here?
No.
He, too, claimed to speak little English, walking quickly away. What language do you speak, sir? Because I have a translation app. I can use a translation app. We can talk about it. We just want to know more about it. You're collecting money for a child who appears to have died. Isn't that a very serious thing? Don't you think you should talk to people about that? Saying nothing. He's going, he's running. Until he also took off. Well, many of us already have our real ID. It all stems from a federal law that sets minimum security standards for state-issued driver's licenses. The deadline was supposed to be coming up in May, but did get pushed back to 2025. Still, you will eventually need one in order to board domestic flights or access federal facilities.
My turn to pay the piper.
And no one he talked to could give him a straight answer.
That's why I called you. maybe you can find out things that I can't.
So we did some digging, and turns out Michael is far from alone. The Social Security Administration says every year thousands of people are mistakenly reported deceased by their agency. The issue is so common they even have a frequently asked question section about it on their website. But the problem gets even bigger when they report it to the Death Master File, which is public. And that is when people can literally get locked out of their own lives.
Start stabbing your face, little tiny itchy dots.
See them on here.
There's just the most recent of horror stories since we first told you about it happening to a family in our area.
It's a living nightmare.
More than a year ago.
Since your story about the Chandlers, this issue has really kind of captured nationwide attention.
Attorney Lloyd Quito represents Collinsville couple Robert and Amanda Chandler. In February last year, we told you about their child's mattress bought at a local Walmart, taking off what they thought was a removable cover.
It's through the whole home.
And exposing airborne fiberglass particles that then traveled over their entire home.
Horrible.
And ever since that story aired, I have received email after email, people who say they are devastated by the same problem. And once those fibers are released, they are very difficult to clean up and almost impossible to get rid of altogether. Detainee here left in May of 2022. Ever since, it's sat empty, grass growing high, debris left outside. Home to a different jailbird now.
It looks like something that needs a bulldozer, probably.
What's to become of MSI is of interest to Hal Hanstein, owner of Cardinal Commercial Real Estate. He says Hall Street's a perfect locale for heavy industrial use.
It's a prime place for trucking companies to put a base of operations.
So at our request, he did an assessment and ran the comps.
So if you do the math, this is about 30 acres. It's a little over $3 million.
For the right buyer, would this piece of property sell?
Oh yes, yeah, without a doubt. If someone in the trucking industry knew it was available, I'm sure it'd be gobbled up.
But he was surprised by something we told him. The city's making significant repairs inside.
Why maintain something if you're going to tear it down? Just call in the dozer.
In January, a pipe burst, causing a flood, and in the many weeks since, the chains have been off the door. Wide open, we went inside.
So we are actually inside the old MSI building right now.
Remnants of the flood can be seen, but also work being done. Blueprints taped to the wall, repairs to the electrical, even a new boiler. A source telling News 4 the work may total in the millions.
First Alert 4 Investigates is asking tonight, where are the receipts? Chief Investigator Lauren Trager was tipped about questionable spending of your tax dollars by St. Louis City leaders, some with big authority. We found documents detailing charges at fancy restaurants, the Lego store, even the Polar Express. Now St. Louis City Hall is flipping the script, trying to charge us money to get what you have the right to know.
From Star Wars spaceships to Disney castles, cool car garages, and don't get us started on Spider-Man. Lego prices pack a punch for parents. That's exactly why the Lego store caught our eye on a recent credit card statement paid for by St. Louis City taxpayers.
What is that?
In fact, there's quite a few eyebrow-raising purchases in the last year.
A bunch of Walmart and Sam's Club.
According to Benjamin Singer,
the Innsbruck Conference Center.
The CEO of Good Government Group, Show Me Integrity.
This is pretty hard to justify.
We asked him to review the monthly statements, a credit card assigned to various city departments, which racks up thousands of dollars of charges a month, even $2,000 in late fees over the year. But the monthly statements say little about what was purchased, only where and for how much. It's how we noticed 3 charges at Lego on June 8th, 9th, and 11th for exactly $399.95 each. Then there's purchases for the Polar Express in St. Louis on December 1st and 5th, one for $470, one for $350, plus dozens of other line items for Walmart, Best Buy, Sam's Club, Amazon, $460 at Chick-fil-A on May 31st, $490 at Papa John's the very next day, all on the credit card of St. Louis City Supply Commissioner Chris Carter. But when we asked for the receipts, his office replied they didn't have any.
These definitely look very questionable, and it's inexcusable that there wouldn't be underlying receipts.
We follow the rules.
Carter tells us he can justify every purchase, though most, he says, weren't for his department, but for area recreation centers.
They spend their time, building Legos.
And so are the Legos still there?
Yes, yeah.
And kids from the center programs, he said, got to go on the Polar Express. The food purchases also for the centers.
We are actually saving taxpayers a ton of money going to Sam's ourselves versus buying from a U.S. Foods, a Cisco.
Policies and procedures, he says, are followed. But there are other purchases, too. The health director, as another example, has spent money on meals 6 times in a year at Lafayette Square Restaurant 1111 Mississippi, more than $900 at Red Robin, and more than $3,000 to a local catering company. Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore also dining at Katie's Pizza, Jack Patrick's, and McGurk's.
Does this raise more questions for you?
If they don't want us to think the worst about these receipts, then they need to provide those receipts.
Singer says it's simple. The receipts would show who went and what they bought.
Keeping track of your receipts when you're spending your employer's money is something we're all used to doing for our jobs if we're spending our employer's money. That's even more important when it's the taxpayers, the citizens, the voters of St. Louis who these department heads are working for.
But getting those receipts proved quite challenging. First Alert 4 Investigates first submitted a public records request for them January 8th. The city comptroller's office, which is responsible for those receipts, said they needed more than a month to provide them. And though we asked for an on-camera interview with Comptroller Darlene Green, no time was ever provided.
The city of St. Louis is one of the worst offenders in the state in terms of how long they are dragging out the process for producing records.
David Rowland is a sunshine law expert who says the public has a right to know where their money is being spent.
In the show me state, they should show me the records.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're trying to live up to our state's own moniker.
One department, the city courts, made it quite easy. Their charge of more than $770 at Chris's at the docket was quickly explained. A luncheon with judges and lawmakers. It wasn't paid for with tax dollars. A nonprofit reimbursed the city a copy of the check provided to us within 24 hours of us asking for it. But not so with other city departments.
Should that be a concern to the public that it's taking that long to get what is arguably relatively simple documentation?
It absolutely should. One of the things about holding a government entity accountable is timeliness, right?
Even getting the city's own credit card policies took weeks, but in hand, they raise yet more questions. Office furniture, for example, is deemed explicitly inappropriate, so is alcohol. Prepayment of meals for meetings and receptions is allowed, the policies say, but meals with contractors, consultants, or employees are not allowed at all.
Anytime you see a government that is deviating either from their own internal policies or what's been set down by a higher authority, you have to start questioning if they have not complied here, what else are they not complying with?
Bottom line, is this something you think needs to be looked into?
I'm glad you brought it to my attention. It's going to create more in-depth investigation from our part.
St. Louis Alderwoman Pamela Boyd,
but it's some that you like, okay.
Is vice chair of the budget committee.
Pickle Miss Gourmet.
She too says the purchases make her want to know more.
Red Robin, almost $1,000. That's a restaurant. We just can't frivolously spend money and there's no accountability for it.
Important to public trust, she says she now wants to formally inquire, are the current credit card policies being followed or do they need to change?
It's the taxpayers' dollars. We need to be accountable for those dollars being spent.
Though the city knows we've been working on this story for weeks, just yesterday we received a statement from the comptroller's office acknowledging there were, quote, unauthorized expenditures on the card, and they have requested and received reimbursements from departments. But there's clearly some confusion about what is allowed and what is not on these credit cards, with departments like the circuit attorney pushing back on any idea that meals wouldn't be allowed. In fact, the comptroller's office provided us with a different set of policies than what certain department heads actually signed. Again, we asked for an interview with the comptroller, but so far no luck.
Scammers, hackers, even telemarketers are itching to get their hands on your personal information.
Yeah, and some people in the metro say they are shocked to learn their names, addresses, and other data is being sold for profit by a government agency.
And Chief Investigative reporter Lauren Trager tells us there really isn't much you can do about it.
The dreaded trip to the DMV. If you drive, you've got no choice. Take a ticket. Give them what they ask for.
My birth certificate, passport, social security number.
Today I came in to DMV to get my driver's license.
But St. Louisans were recently shocked when we told them. Do you know that the DMV actually sells your personal information to third parties?
No, I did not know they sell your information.
Their personal info could be for sale.
Frankly, it's a little frightening, a little off-putting.
Even on my recent trip to a license office, the worker didn't know.
Do you guys ever sell like personal information?
No, they don't.
It never gets sold to like third parties?
Never.
All of it could be for sale.
Oh, of course. Anything the DMV has about you is for sale.
Scott Graneman is a data expert and professor at Webster University.
Look at your driver's license and then imagine what you filled out. Imagine the things you filled out on the form that the DMV has. Now imagine that being made available to people. It's a lot of information.
And he says it's all perfectly legal under a federal law called the Driver's Privacy Protection Act, or DPPA. Passed in the 1990s after DMV information was used by a man to murder a Hollywood actress, the law actually prohibits states from selling driver data to just anyone, but it carved out exemptions for who can access it, courts and law enforcement agencies, for example, and also certain types of businesses like insurance companies and entities conducting market research, even private investigators.
The restrictions that are provided have a lot of loopholes in them, and a lot of opportunity for people to go ahead and acquire information about us that we might not be very comfortable with them acquiring.
So even though the law is supposed to restrict selling your data, News 4 Investigates has learned states very often do and are making millions of dollars in the meantime. We pulled the data from Missouri. In the last 5 years, the state made well more than $2 million from selling DMV records. It's less than other states. Texas made a reported $3 million in 2020 alone. Illinois almost $45 million in 2022, and Florida reportedly raked in $77 million for driver data back in 2017.
So Missouri is somewhat of a drop in the bucket compared to Florida, but there's still selling going on of information.
Graneman says it's often not clear where the data's going. He reviewed the list of the entities to which Missouri sold in 2022, and some of them raise more questions.
What's to stop me from just creating, Lauren Trager Marketing LLC and going and buying all of this data?
There's nothing stopping somebody from creating a marketing company and then getting this data at all.
And nothing, he says, stops them from turning around and selling the data to someone else, especially now when it's easier than ever.
Which is why we have the problem of our data sloshing around all over computer systems all over the United States.
Graneman has long said federal laws need to be passed to protect Americans' data overall.
You don't own your data. So if somebody else has data about you, they own that data, not you.
So we took concerns about the DMV loophole straight to Missouri U.S. Senator Josh Hawley.
The idea that the government then could perhaps take that information and sell it, make it available to third parties, I just think that's appalling.
He tells News 4 Investigates he would consider legislation to tighten the exemptions to the DPPA.
The information you have to give the state to get a license, to get a vehicle, and then have it be turned over to a third party or sold to them, that is wrong, wrong, wrong.
Worst of all, drivers we talked to say they had no idea.
If they're selling it, that seems pretty, irresponsible.
It takes Channel 4 to come out to sit there and tell us this, but people need to pay attention about their identity.
And want to opt out? It's not an option.
What can we do about it to stop them from doing it? The State Department of Revenue. The State Department of Revenue. Remember that, St. Louis, Missouri. Make sure that we stay on top of that.
Again, remember, this is all allowed under federal law, but states can make their own laws more restrictive. Wyoming and Arkansas have, for example. We'll keep checking with lawmakers here, and for now, just know that your data might be sold. For News 4 Investigates, I'm Lauren Trager.
And late today, the Department of Revenue provided a response to News 4 for this story. We asked, how do they know who is getting the information? A spokesperson writing, quote, every effort is made to ensure that only authorized users of authorized entities are provided information. This is something we take very seriously, and efforts include manual verification, cross-referencing, and routine spot checks, end quote.
Of Americans have used a dating app, but if you're looking for love or think you already found it, can you really trust them?
Well, a new crop of social media sites is trying to help you answer that question. Chief investigative reporter Lauren Trager found tens of thousands of people in our area are now using those sites to vet their next date.
The pour of a beer and the din of a bar.
I do like drinking beer. No, that's true. I love a brewery.
It's a place Joe from Maplewood is pretty comfortable.
I'm pretty laid back, I think. Definitely not shy.
The 29-year-old high school teacher is newly single.
I'm hoping to meet someone to do life with.
But he knows it's far less likely he'll meet someone here nowadays, and matching up through friends or family hasn't worked yet either.
I will say this, my mother is on the hunt like no one else.
Instead, he's often on his phone, swiping left or right on dating sites.
It really becomes a numbers game more than anything else, which feels weird and artificial almost with dating, but it kind of is.
Wondering if the next one might be the one.
You're gonna match with this many people, and then you're gonna talk with this many, and then you're gonna meet up with this many. And so in order to find someone with whom you have a connection, you really have to try that with a lot of people.
Can I show you this Facebook?
But he was surprised when we showed him this recently.
The top comment is, he's been posted before with bad reviews. Like it's a Yelp site for men.
A Facebook page called Are We Dating the Same Guy St. Louis?
Kind of weird.
With more than 50,000 women from the region posting their dates, their boyfriends, even their husbands to see if someone else is dating them or has dirt on them.
I hope I don't. I don't think I've never given anyone reason to post me, I don't think. I know I haven't. I have no reason that I'd be on that.
St. Louis's page isn't the first, but has been exploding with members in the last 6 months. It all started in New York last year, and now similar sites have popped up all over the country and the world. Women post men they know or plan to date. We're blurring them since we haven't independently verified the posted information. Commenters can then spill the tea or share red flags, often to find out if the person's telling the truth. Upwards of 25% of users on the dating app Tinder, for example, are already in committed relationships. Each group has specific rules, first of which, don't share the post. No last names or personal information. It's about protecting women, they say, not judging men.
If someone's being dishonest about something a little more surface level, what else are they being dishonest about? Come on.
City resident Maggie is a member of the group.
Swipe left.
On a recent walk with her dog Regis, she scrolled to see if any upcoming dates might appear there.
I really appreciate them just because I view them as a positive from like a safety standpoint.
Group members and moderators argue the sites could serve a real public service, with the World Health Organization estimating 1 in 3 women will experience physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. The groups could serve as a significant warning.
They could be an unsafe person, and I kind of see it as like empowering almost. Makes me feel a deeper connection with other people who are in similar circumstances dating like I am.
You're able to research the people you're going on dates with more efficiently. You're able to vet them. You're able to figure out if this is a safe scenario to be in more easily, which reduces the burden of labor of online dating.
Alexandra Freeman with MissouriMatchmaker.com says the social media sites can have value, but they've got significant downsides too.
Where there is light, there's always shadow, right? And in the end, you don't know who is saying what about these people on these sites. You have no way of knowing if these people are being deceptive.
Legally, there are potential issues for both the women posting and also the men who are posted about.
Michael Pelagali is an attorney whose firm is now specializing in these types of sites.
There are times when these groups can be used inappropriately to either defame someone or cause unnecessary harm. And we've been contacted by individuals posted in these groups who have lost partners, romantic partners, because of this. They've been questioned by their employer.
And the groups, often meant to be private, do often get back to the people posted about. So often that being posted on one of the groups even became a Halloween costume this year.
The groups in and of themselves are completely legal within the bounds of the law and the First Amendment. It is when someone who posts in that group commits defamation. That is when the line is crossed.
To stay out of trouble,
keep your posts truthful and accurate. And yes, proceed with caution, knowing that those groups do not outright protect a woman posting.
Sometimes seeing the worst,
yes, me and Regis,
makes Maggie think of just sticking it out with Regis instead.
Sometimes it can feel like that, especially seeing those groups, but I'm trying to stay hopeful.
So she keeps swiping.
You know, I'm still out there. I'm still looking.
You know, it's sad that It has to exist, but I kind of get it.
Meanwhile, Joe says he's making it a goal never to be posted on Are We Dating the Same Guy?
I would point that to the man and be like, you got to change some behaviors, dude.
Instead, he likes the other Facebook page we showed him, Vouched Dating,
That's very cute.
where women post men they'd actually recommend.
That's cool. I like that.
Perhaps being posted there would land him the love of his life.
And there have been real success stories on both of those sites. One of the positives people tell me can be that sense of community. The lawyers we spoke with, though, say defamation most often occurs not on the original post, but in the comments section. And regardless, we've heard these types of sites are here to stay. We reached out to the moderators of the pages, but haven't yet heard back. I'm Lauren Trager, First Alert for Investigates.